What's up? Today I'm going to do, we're outside, it's a quarantine situation, so we're gonna do a little bit of playing outside, me and the family, and I figured right now would be a good time for me to show what the speed on some of my slingshots are. So I've got a whole bunch of slingshots I'll show you in a second, which are all banded differently. Some of them have tubes, some of them have like thinner tubes or thicker tubes or longer bands or shorter bands, or different brands of bands. And they basically, I want to get out there and kind of compare a lot of them and see what they're shooting. I have a digital scale, and I thought about pulling the bands against the scale. It's like a luggage scale, and I thought about pulling the bands against the luggage scale so that I could actually weigh them to give you an idea of what their draw weight is. But I think instead what I'm going to do is actually just go by feel, because some bands feel different. I mean, tubes always feel heavy to me, and I don't know what it is about tubes, but no matter how thin or what size tubing it is, it always feels like the tubing is too small or is too strong, and then I'm not getting very good speed out of it. I don't know if it's the way that I shoot or what, but anyway, I'm gonna kind of give you guys an idea of how heavy it feels, and that'll be a better indicator, I think, because it doesn't really matter what the actual weight of the bands is. What matters is how heavy they feel. If a band set was super heavy and I could draw it and hold it all day, what difference does that make to me? So we're gonna shoot. I'm gonna show you my setup here real quick. I'm setting up a little bit. So this is my slingshots that I'm going to be attempting today. I'll show you each of them one by one, but I got them all in this box. There's, obviously some huge surgical tubing. This is a store-bought band set. I think it's made by Daisy. We got some of the green, some of the pink, some of the Chinese green, some of the precise. I think this is 0.75. I got the Shishu bands in here. I got some thinner amber tubes, some thinner black tubes down in here. So I got some green tubes I'm going to attach to a couple things and kind of show off. So a little bit of everything in there. And the ammo today is going to be my favorite 3/8 inch steel balls. These weigh 3.5 grams each. They're all pretty precise, so those are my faves. And then I got the trusty, dusty chronograph here. It's literally dusty. This was in my shop, and I taken a Q-tip to it down inside there so that I make sure that the lasers or whatever it's using are clean. But I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll start shooting. Okay, so I set up my catch box. As you can see, it's a really easy setup here. Basically what it is, some PVC pipe. You can see on the bottom here how it frames out. So it's like that, just a big upside down U frame, and then it's some cloth, in this case a blanket. And when the ammo, you can see there's a whole bunch of balls in here, but when the ammo hits the cloth there, I'll throw it like this. It just rolls down the cloth and into the bucket, which is nice. Worst case scenario, it bounces out and lands somewhere in this area, so I'll be able to find my ammo again. And that is what I'm going to be looking at. So I'll show you guys a couple different ones, and then we'll work on, yeah, there we go, nice and straight, and then we'll get shooting. So make sure that your hands are out of the way, because the camera's over here. Okay, so step back a little bit. So I got my 9-year-old filming here, and we're gonna take it right over the chronograph. The first one that I'm gonna actually shoot here is this PVC one that I made, brand painted. It's been painted for a few years, so the paint's starting to come off, but it's got these huge medical latex tubes on there. I mean, they gotta be same so they gotta be the same diameter as this ball, which is 3/8 of an inch. And yeah, my catch box fell, so let's pick that up real quick.
I got your a big stone. Curious what he was going to do with that.
Okay, so hopefully that fixes the problem. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You can see me and the chronograph.
Yep.
Should also note this thing has a humongous pouch, which is far too big for this little ball. So I'll talk to you about why that's important later, but let's shoot. .171 feet per second. We'll test each one 2 or 3 times just to make sure that we get, so there's no anomalies. We knock out the anomalies that way. 175 feet per second. .173 feet per second, so pretty accurate, pretty consistent. These bands are heavy. They feel okay as far as stretch goes. I probably have a little bit of extra distance that I can pull them. So let's just give it a little bit more pull. I usually draw to my cheek, but I'm going to draw it back a little bit further, maybe like ear length or so, to give it a little bit more zip.
Okay. Let's see how it handles. Little happy feet deuce.
189. So you can see the increase there. Much faster, but it's just not stable when you're drawing that far back. It's hard to hold it, and they're heavy and they're a little bit obnoxious, but it's a good band. Cheap, relatively cheap. Yeah, let's go on. Let's shoot a different one. By contrast, this is a store-bought band set. I think it's made by Daisy. They come with a much smaller pouch, so again, you can see the difference in the ammo there. But this pouch I had to punch a hole in with a hole punch. So we'll take a look at what the store-bought bands are doing versus that huge tube band set that I just made. .179. .185. 183. These bands feel a lot lighter than the bigger latex tubing, and just for reference, I'll kind of show you the difference in size with them. You can see how much thicker one is than the other.
Yeah.
But I think that they both have about the same amount of thickness as far as the actual tube goes. The amber ones are just bigger around, so there is more latex in this system. These are lighter too, and they're lighter and they're shooting faster. I have still a little bit of room that I can draw this from here to about here, so I'm going to do that, let her rip, and show you what the other one is.
It's probably going to be amazingly fast.
205 feet per second. So you can see drawing a further distance will increase your speed. That's going to be true no matter what kind of bands or tubes you're shooting. So now we're going to go to this much thinner, and actually you can see how big of a step down it is.
Oh.
So much thinner, much smaller diameter, but these are doubled up, okay? You can also see,
Whoa.
if you look, they have a much shorter draw length. So this one, I'm sorry, much shorter active length. So these are much shorter, and that does a couple of things. It adds power stroke, meaning you get more acceleration phase, but you're also just not going to be able to draw them back as far. So let's see what kind of pop these got. 209. So again, and they're much lighter. This is the lightest tubing probably that I have shot so far. 201. And it's important that it's light, because when you draw and you hold it there, that's weight that your muscles have to hold it. So every inch that you draw, the lighter it is, the easier it is to hold it steady and to take aim and then to let go. And if it's a lighter draw but faster ammo, that's good. That means you're using less energy from your own body, and it's putting more energy into the projectile. See how much more draw I got on these. I only have maybe another inch or so let's try that. .212. So you can see, again, it's shooting with more energy. So now I'm going to shoot these black tubing. So they're a little bit thicker than the amber, but I created a fake taper. So these are doubled up for half of the band, and then they're singled for the other half of the band. And the tapering makes a difference as well. You'll see. These are a much lighter draw than the amber tubes. I mean, these are way lighter. But the diameter of this tubing is much thicker. So I don't know if you can see in the end there.
No.
The black is much thicker tubing, but lighter draw.
Music.
So let's send a few shots down with this. Is that error? I might have to reset it. It doesn't take on the next shot. 193. So we're getting a little bit of a slowdown now, but that's expected. This is a much lighter draw because it's only single tube on the back end. .200.
Picking up.
194. Okay. I still have a little bit of length I can go on this. I'm pulling to here. I can draw to about there. So there's actually a lot of length on this. So let's see what I can power this up to get the full effect.
Let's see it.
.235. So if you had a longer draw, some people, I only like to draw to my cheek. I only draw right to there. That's where I anchor every time. Some people, they like to draw further. It actually locks their shoulder out better so they can hold it longer. You just have to make your bands a little bit longer to compensate for that. But with that kind of power, 235 feet per second, I mean, just going from here to here, you're getting into the speeds where you can easily hunt with these bands. You can take basically any small game. So just a single tube on the back half and double tube in the front half. Easy to hunt with those. What's next? I think I got all the tubing shot through. Oh, I have these green tubes. I should actually run in and grab. This is my Handmade loop tube set. Hold on one second.
He's gonna be back soon. Liv! Liv! What? The dog went in the house. I know. Okay. He's back. Okay.
Okay, I had to run it and grab a slingshot I could quickly connect these tubes with. So, let me hook it up for you. You can see there's like a slot and a hole, and it's great because you can just pull that and it pops in there.
And the snap lets you know that it's in.
That's right. Right. So you can see there's a slice in these bands, these tubes. So I don't know how long they're going to last, but hopefully they last long enough for me to take a few shots. So this tubing is handmade. Pouch is obviously much smaller. Most of my slingshots use that same pouch, so let's see what we can get with this one.
Oop. Stepping on a branch.
210.
Ooh, pretty good.
And this green tubing is almost exactly the same diameter as that black tubing. It's almost the same thing. So you can tell what the black tubing would be if it was doubled up. 215. $218. And I don't have much left, so let me just try to get the farthest draw I can with these. 224.
Dang.
So again, the dual looped tube, you're right now just barely at hunting range for these tubes, or hunting speed. So these are definitely an okay hunting setup, but I just don't personally like tubes that much.
They're kind of harder to draw than the bands.
They are harder to draw than the bands. They feel heavier. So
I, for one, can barely even pull them back.
Yeah, it's harder to pull, for sure. So I'm going to start with... No.
Mila.
I'm going to start with my bands. These are a real light set. They are... they're not tapered, so they start at half an inch, and they go down half an inch. These are a very light setup, and they're a little bit too long for me. So you can... I can actually draw these really far back. So we're going to take a few normal shots, see kind of what they're shooting at, and then draw it to their max power. Ready?
Yeah. I just think it's funny how she ran away from Deuce and then she ran towards Deuce.
186. And these by far are the lightest ones that I've shown yet. I mean, by far the lightest ones that I've shown yet. The draw on them is so light. It's really, really incredible. Liv. Stop. $188.
Get behind me, Mila. What?
Error again.
Mila? Behind me.
187. So another thing that I want to show you guys is this pouch. The last few pouches that I've shown have been this kind of thicker leather-like material. I'm not sure if that's microfiber or leather. Feels like it might be microfiber with a leather backing. And that is the size of the ball. This are my favorite bands because they'll take, or my favorite pouch rather, because they'll take super heavy, strong bands, and they're pretty small compared to the
little ball goes.
They're pretty small compared to the steel. But for target practice, I have these, and they are, you can see the difference in the thickness.
Oh dang, yeah.
And the difference in the size. These are by far the lightest pouches. And again, that makes a difference, but I'll tell you why in a little bit. So I'm going to power these up, and I'm going to draw them as far back as I can. And then I'm going to shoot with a much farther draw. And you can see, so this is my normal draw. These bands will come, I mean, really far. I mean, that's a good maybe 6 more inches of power stroke.
Not right now, Mila.
Normal. 218.
Dang.
So with the lightest bands that I've shot so far, I can get 218 feet per second. That is not quite the speed that I'd like to see for hunting, but if I used a slightly smaller projectile or thickened these bands just even a little bit, I would get that speed that I'm looking for. And yeah, these could be potentially hunting bands. I'm going to use this now with by far the smallest pouch that I have. And these bands are tapered. Actually, I don't know if these are tapered either, but they're maybe 1/3 of an inch. 3/8. Not quite. They're a little bit bigger than 3/8. But this is the TheraBand Gold, so typically TheraBand Gold's a little bit of a step up in power from those green guys. But these have an extra long length, so we'll see what kind of speed we can get with them.
Whoa.
169. So very slow. Shush me, love.
3 bottles are empty.
Go fill them up.
165.
Daddy.
172.
172.
I'm going to draw these and give these a little bit of a max power
Okay.
as well. Got an error. $180.
180.
So these are definitely not a hunting setup. However, these are really fun for shooting BBs. Little .177 BBs. You can send BBs like 300 plus feet per second. It's really fun. So I have 2 different slingshots that have the same types of band.
Ooh, pink.
Yeah, the pink.
Ooh, pink, yay.
But I want to show you guys the difference. So if you look at how long one of these is compared to the other, you can see the difference in their length.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a little.
And I want to show you guys what kind of a difference just that little bit of an inch makes.
Dang.
Okay, so we'll shoot the longer one first. $197. $196. $196. Okay. you can see that it said DU01. That means duplicate. Got the same speed. It measured the shot, but it was the same speed as the last shot. These I can draw. I got these bands from Five Below. And whatever kind of material this is super stretchy. I mean, they stretch way farther than most of my other bands. So this is where I typically anchor. I can draw these extra far. Those green bands that I just shot, I also got those from Five Below as well.
Five Below is a pretty good place.
Yeah. They're actually really, really cheap for those bands too. So let's give this one a little bit of an overkill shot.
Oh dear.
213.
Dang.
So again, with an extra long draw, these would probably be okay for hunting. I wouldn't do too much hunting with them because they're not quite where you want to be. If you have a longer draw though, you're gonna get higher speed. But with a short draw style like mine, all you have to do is shorten up the bands, and that increases the power stroke. I'll show you what I mean. So these are basically the exact same bands cut at the exact same dimensions, except for these are cut 1 inch shorter than those other bands. 191. 192. 197. And now I'll try to give it a little bit more power. Can't draw these nearly as far as the other one though. Didn't register.
Hmm.
.202. Should be noted too that I have a different pouch on this one's pouch is a little bit heavier. So I want to show you guys too. These are non-latex rubber. If you're not allergic to latex, go get latex. They're way better. These are straight cut at 3/4 of an inch though. With the non-latex, you can't stretch these nearly as far, so they have to be extra long. An error. .184.
You wanna go back to
182. 175. It should also be noted that these are the thickest non-latex bands I could get, and I'm almost maxed out where I'm drawing them. I mean, I have just a little bit more room to give. These are expensive bands, and I made a mistake ordering, and I didn't realize it until after I had cut some. The latex bands at Five Below are much faster, much cheaper. They're half the price of these. I would definitely recommend to go to Five Below to get that latex. If you guys want something cheap but effective, don't buy non-latex rubber. Not worth it. By comparison, this is the latex TheraBand Gold, and they're tapered from 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch. I'll show you guys the difference in speed that you can get. .230.
Dang.
So these are by far the fastest bands we've shot so far. These are definitely hunting bands. 230 feet per second is plenty for most small game. 224. 225. Now, I'll give these a little extra power, although they're pretty close to being maxed. 245. Definitely hunting bands. TheraBand Gold are great. The latex version. These are great hunting bands. Great slingshot bands. They last a long time. They're relatively inexpensive. The only problems that I've noticed with TheraBand Gold is that from batch to batch, the thickness does differ just a little bit, and I don't like that inconsistency. But if you get two bands that are pretty close, you're going to be able to throw ammo plenty fast to hunt with. I'm going to try, just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to try these this Frameless sling ring. I don't know what thickness bands these are. They came with the sling ring, but there's a very tiny little pouch on there, microfiber. Barely holds the steel. You can see how big the steel is compared to the pouch.
It's amazing how small it is.
So let's give this a few shots and see what kind of speeds we can get out of it. These, I know, they're very light, and I think they're very slow. Okay, Mila, leave them alone, okay? Move.
She keeps on getting to the slingshots.
These I know are pretty slow. .198. They're very light. And you don't need a frame to shoot your slingshot. You don't. You can shoot them frameless, and you can get plenty powerful bands. The bands do everything. They do all the work. The frame is just really for looks and comfort. 202.
Does that hurt your finger when you shoot it?
No, I mean, it pulls on my thumb skin a little bit, but it doesn't actually hurt. It takes a little bit of getting used to. 207. So with a little bit of work, if it was a warm day out, these might get into hunting range, but you'd probably want to use a little bit bigger bands and a little bit thicker pouch to make sure that your ammo has got some power to it. Let's see, which ones didn't I shoot yet? I got my precise .75 tapered from 1 inch to 3/4. These are some of the fastest bands that I have, and I think I only have one more after this, so we'll give this a few shots. This should be faster than TheraBand Gold. They don't stretch quite as much as TheraBand Gold does, so they have to be cut a little longer. But they have a definite max out point, so when you hit that point, you're not going any further than that. 230. 228. 226. And now I'll give it a little extra pop and draw it just a little bit further. 247. Definitely hunting bands, 100%. Precise makes excellent products, so don't be shy about grabbing Precise. These are .75. Again, taper from 1 inch to 3/4 inch, and I'm shooting 9.5 millimeter steel balls. Those are 3/8 inch for people in the United States. That is plenty.
Just like when you had just said.
You sure?
Yeah. Because I felt my thumb click a button by accident.
So these are .8 millimeter Shishu. These are also tapered from 1 inch to 3/4 inch. They're cut exactly the same length as the Precise yellow. So you can see they're basically the same length. They have the same pouch.
Oh, funny.
These are just 0.5 millimeters thicker, and they have less, or they're actually 0.05 millimeters thicker, and they have less adulterants. So they didn't put dyes and stuff in them like they did with the other colors. Just to give you an idea of how fast these will shoot. 256. And again, that's just drawing to my cheek.
Dang. It's the highest one yet.
245. 241.
I have these just about maxed out. So we'll kind of get one shot overdrawn a little bit just to see. Come here, Mila.
Yeah. Mila!
Just to see where they're shooting at. Ah, of course I got an error. Just reset it real quick. Alright, ready?
Yep. Ow!
251.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have them pretty much at my max draw length, so I don't expect them to be able to get very much further, just pulling a little bit harder. One thing that should be noted, no matter what kind of slingshot you're using, the faster you draw and release the shot, the faster the ammo will go.
Oh,
So
cool.
let's use my my precise yellow here, and I'll show you if I pull and hold it for 5 seconds, what kind of speed we get, and then I'll just draw and shoot right away, and we'll show you what kind of speed we get. So, do this, hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 207,
207.
and then on this one I'll just draw, and as soon as I hit my anchor point, I'll release.
Okay. Got it.
212.
That went up by 5.
We'll do it a faster draw, like the fastest draw I can manage. 220.
Luda, come here.
I actually just put a hole in my catch box too.
Oh, dang. I see 3.
So that's the Great Slingshot Shootout. I hope you guys enjoyed this a little bit. I'm going to cut it right here and then go and talk about why some of the bands shoot differently, what you should look for with regard to latex, tubing, bands. It makes a little bit of a difference what you shoot with, and I'll explain that here in a second.
Alright guys, so that was a great test for a lot of my elastics. I actually was glad that I got out to shoot and speed test everything a little bit. It wasn't as scientific as I would have liked, because I really do wish that I would have cut everything to the exact length so that it would have been sort of maxed at my draw length, and then it would have given you a real idea of what the power of each of those could be. But giving a little bit of extra draw to power up the ammo, so to speak, was probably a pretty good indicator of where you'd be, based on how long your draw is. My draw is like, when I'm maxed here, it's about 29 inches or 30 inches. So a few things I'd like to reiterate. The tubes, they just are not that good. I've heard people say that tubes last longer than flats do, but that's not something I've ever noticed. I actually think they don't last even as long as the flats do. They're far easier to cut and band, though. If you get a roll of tubing, you can just use scissors, cut 2 equal lengths of it, and you have 2 equal band sets. I mean, they're very consistent, at least, as far as thicknesses go, and it's really easy to cut them. You just need a pair of scissors. Whereas with the flat bands, you need a roll cutter. You can't cut it with scissors because you won't end up with a straight line. And if you have even a little bit of a nick or a curve to it, the bands are just going to fail really prematurely. That's it, though. I mean, there's no other advantage to using tubes. The flat bands are more precise. For a lighter draw weight, they're giving you greater speed. They're about the same price, really, if you're pricing out different elastics. So there's no price advantage to tubes either. In my opinion, they're easier to tie to your slingshots. The flat bands are. They're easy to tie to your slingshots. You just wrap and tuck with a little bit of an extra piece of elastic or even a rubber band, and it'll attach to your slingshot more easily. There really isn't any advantage to tubes, honestly. A couple of things that I also want to elaborate on is I showed a green flat band and a pink flat band that I had gotten from Five Below. If you're trying to make some slingshots on the cheap, I highly recommend going to Five Below. Their elastic is pretty good. It's not great, but for the price, it's fantastic. It's like half the price of what you're going to pay for TheraBand or Precise. They had 4 different colors, and I got one of each color, and I had tested them a couple of months ago, and what I found was that the green one is by far the fastest, and it has a pretty light draw weight as well. They also make a black one that's much thicker. It's fast, but it's much heavier than the green one is, and it's not as fast as the green one, so there's no reason to get the black. The pink one I showed, it's a very light draw, but it still has decent speed. It's almost as fast as the black, so and the black's like double the draw weight. So with what you're getting, I would say go with the green or the pink. They also make a blue one that's really slow, but it's really light. I wouldn't bother with the blue one. It's just too slow to be of any use. I'd go with the pink or the green. Anyway, the TheraBand is surprisingly fast for how thick it is. Pretty light draw weight and offers a tremendous amount of speed for the thickness of it. So draw weight to speed ratio, I think that the TheraBand is the winner here, or the green flat band from Five Below. The TheraBand just has a great speed to draw weight ratio. It stretches a lot. It's not quite as stretchy as the Five Below stuff, but it's much more stretchy than the Precise is. So you can cut them a little bit shorter, get a little bit more power out of it. Hey! Dog's barking. Yeah, just to sum up, go try some different stuff, really. But if you are on a budget and you want to get one thing and one thing only, I would recommend getting the Five Below bands because of their price. They're so cheap. Even if you go through a lot of them, they're half the price of a typical TheraBand or Precise roll. Or go with the TheraBand Gold. Even though the thickness can vary a little bit from roll to roll and from even in the same roll from side to side, it's kind of strange. Do your best to get 2 bands that are relatively the same thickness. Cut them the same width, the same taper, and you're going to like them. Otherwise, buying something like a Precise or even the GZK brand, they make excellent stuff, very good speed. They're fast for the draw weight, but they, compared to tubes anyway, but they're just a little bit more pricey, and I don't notice that much more speed out of the Precise, even though for the draw weight. I hope you guys like this. I took a little bit of time to do it. My daughter, I really want to thank her for filming for me. I know she a little bit new to it, and my head was cut off a little bit, but I think she did a great job, and hopefully she'll be able to film a little bit more with me. But yeah, that's it. See you next time.